Hey there, everyone. How are you doing this morning? So, as I mentioned in our daily financial news, one of the videos or live streams that I wanted to create today is kind of putting together my memories of a deep and dark recession that occurred in the late 70s, early 80s, by my memory. I was, I want to say, between 11 and 12 years old. And the reason I want to talk about this is I think we might be entering an economic cycle that is both deeper and longer than any of us want. And I know a lot of you that are watching this have children or have, people around you that will be impacted. So I thought what I would do is share with you my memories of that time. One, to realize what might be coming. Two, to realize that your kids or folks that are in your circle, they will be suffering and seeing what's going on. So talk to them and have these discussions. So I actually jotted down 8 things that I remember from that time. And again, these are my memories. So Mom, if you're watching this one, which I know you watch all my videos, which is kind of cool and also kind of freaky. These are my memories, so don't call me up and yell at me for having a bad memory. This is just what I remember. So the first one is jobs can disappear. Your job can disappear even if you are good or great at what you do. This was something that I remember. At least my memory of the situation was my father was really good at what he did. And we would hear about it for years, and he'd get awards and certificates and things. But that didn't prevent him from being laid off multiple times. When the economy contracts and people are buying less of this and that, they need less people. And I remember being young, seeing my father laid off, and then laid off for weeks and months and months, not really understanding how that happened. I can still remember that time frame. So realize that in a deep and dark and long recession, being good or great at what you do certainly helps, but it doesn't prevent job loss. I remember that pretty vividly. Number 2, this one was eye-opening and didn't even remember this until this morning. The stuff that you have and you value has very little value when you need to raise cash. I remember one time it was so bad that we had a yard sale, and my mother was selling things that she had collected. Bought, collected, whatever, for years, and that would make her smile and have her be happy to have, and she had to let them go. I remember one transaction vividly. I don't remember what it was, but some kind of kitchenware thing that my mother spent hundreds of dollars on. Some lady drove up in a fancy car. I want to call it a BMW, but it probably wasn't. It was fancy to me as a teenager. And she's up there negotiating with my mother for this thing that my mom treasured. I want to say we were asking $20 and she was negotiating down to like 10. And I remember my mom having to take it, and that crushed me. So again, things that you value today mean very little when you need to raise cash. So that still sticks with me, right? Things, I remember that transaction, and that was not cool. The lady, at least I always thought, could clearly afford the $20 and was being, I don't know, mean or spiteful or whatever. I don't know. I was on one side of the transaction, so for all I know, she was in trouble too. I don't know. But I remember that yard sale not being a particularly bright spot in our family's history. We were in trouble. The number three is cash and savings disappear quickly if you don't change your behavior. And this one, unfortunately, once again, falls on my father, who, for whatever reason, I'm sure it was ego. I assume I mean, looking hindsight is hard to say, right? He's always very good at what he does, always had the rewards and blah, blah, blah. But I remember we were packing lunches because we were trying to save, we were trying to save everywhere we could. And it got so bad that he, as the only one working, would have to, take his lunch to work. And he did not like that. He would take it because my mom would create it. And then lo and behold, we find out months later he throws it away and then goes out to eat for lunch. I can't fathom that behavior, but it happened, right? If you feel like you're justified going to lunch with your coworkers, your family's at home struggling, money goes away quick. Career changes sometimes happen in the depths of the recession. I remember one time it was so long, so bad, that my father actually ended up trying to learn how to stucco houses. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say that he's not the handiest person. He's not handy. Not a handy guy. But he had to do something, right? We were in bad shape, and he got a job as a day laborer stuccoing houses. Sometimes you got to check your ego and go where you have to. I remember that. That was interesting. That was not fun. That was not fun. All of these are leading up to number 5, which is your kids feel it. Even if they're not involved in the conversations, and we weren't, I strongly believe they tried to shield us from the realities. Or at least I can't say we, maybe my sister was oblivious, who knows. But I knew it was bad. And when they weren't telling us, probably most of the time I thought it was worse than maybe it was. We didn't talk money. The only time we talked money was when it was spending. We didn't talk savings. I never knew what they had in the savings account. I never even knew if they had a savings account. It was, if it would be interesting to rewind the clock and replay that 6 or 7 month window if we were all talking, because I assume we could have done more as a unit as opposed to putting it all on my father. In fairness, my mom would do what she could, right? She was raising 2 kids, which is the most important job. She would daycare and do anything she could in the house. And she would coupon like mad, right? She was a professional couponer. And, I think we could have done more. I don't know. But I would tell you to talk to your kids about money. And more importantly, always talk to your kids about money. That's really why I've given away money, this book report challenge, is because I remember not talking about money. I'm challenging kids to read it, write a report, and hopefully most of them talk to you about money. That's really the hope of why I'm giving away now $300 here in about a week. The other thing is not only talk to them, but also, again, kind of following on that one, is your kids feel it. Right? They feel it. At least I felt it, right? I knew something was wrong. And when I don't know, your mind goes in lots of different directions. And if this recession goes on 2, 3, 4 quarters, believe me, your kids are going to start to see it and feel it. And even if you're working, their friends will feel it, right? We get unemployment spiking back up. It could be a deep and long recession. And We really haven't had one of those since the 70s and 80s by my memory. So realize it's out there. Number 7 is when this goes on, if it goes on as deep and as long as I see it coming, everyone is hurting. I remember a couple of different times where we were hurting so bad we tried to go to family members to borrow money, and that didn't go well. I remember other times where other family members needed help and we couldn't help, or at least couldn't help to the level we wanted to. This is not 3.5% unemployment like we had, where if one person gets let go, others can chip in. This could be, this could impact lots of people at the same time. And then the last one is, and I think this one is going to be particularly important, is sometimes you just need to relocate, right? If your area or industry or whatever is taking that big a hit and you're seeing other parts of the country or industries or jobs taking off, sometimes the right answer is to move. I know there were several times that we were days, if not weeks away from giving it up and going somewhere else. And some might argue it would have been easier to do that, at least in the short term. But I think this particular environment is going to be very oriented towards relocation. I think the Great Depression was about the suburbs coming to the cities. And I think when we look back on this in 10, 20, 30, 50 years, it will be the cities going to the suburbs. And that means jobs. That means moving to lower cost of living. That means you can live on 60K versus 200K, right? It's quality of life needs to be a thing. And as big an ego hit as it might be, relocation could be the right answer for lots of us. So in the end, I don't know why this hit me this morning, but it just felt like I had to talk about it. I'm looking at these unemployment figures with this PPP loan expiring and that uptick on Thursday last week kind of shook me. I hope that's a blip and a one-time thing, but we're going to see. It does feel like all this stimulus talk is not. Doesn't seem like it's going to be big enough, but maybe that's just a negotiation. So it will be interesting. All right, everybody. Sorry if you let me divulge kind of a painful part of my history, but hopefully it helps. I share this again to hopefully highlight what might be coming for some folks who haven't experienced it. And also, if you have kids or grandkids or friends, realize that they're impacted too. So talk to them about money. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day.